I want to leave, but I really don't know where to go. Thinking of leaving, but
Listen, I
where?
really want to know where everyone's going.
But where are these people even going? You don't have to completely leave Canada. There are strategies that help you either completely leave or have location freedom, which a lot of times, due to economic ups and downs, is very helpful because now maybe you're earning in different currencies and so on.
So whether you want to completely leave, or let's say just have the location freedom and to suit your goals or family's goals, keep on watching. Being a Canadian citizen gives you this one privilege that you might or might not know about. You see all these countries? What do you think they have in common?
They all allow you to have multiple PRs or citizenships without forfeiting their own passports. And guess what? Canada is one of them, which means with a Canadian citizenship, you actually don't have to forfeit it to be able to get other citizenships and PRs. I think I left this, guys.
This strategy that I'm going to talk about is really good for young professionals who, especially in their life, really want to save up for a certain period of time. You know, we got racking it up and so on. Here you will get transportation to work. Maybe you'll even get a car. Here you will get an allowance for food. Here you will also get accommodation for your stay, even transitional help from moving where you are to that country. Can you guess which countries I'm talking about? We come to the Middle East. I mean, we're in Canada still, but I mean Oman, UAE, or Qatar are looking for people like you. So countries in the Middle East, you will notice, love educated Canadians, and they're very hospitable, as I mentioned before, with all the perks you get when you do get employment in one of these countries. People educated from the West, meaning in Canada, in the STEM fields might not always have the opportunity, especially right now with their jobs and actually having income that can sustain them, but in these Middle Eastern countries, they will literally gobble that up and give the opportunities right away because they are looking for you if you're in those fields. If you guys watched my previous video, you know I was born in Qatar and my parents actually worked in Qatar as well, one as an engineer, one as a teacher. So if anyone was to vouch, if there is a large demand of skill sets in STEM, there definitely is. The best part is you don't actually have to worry about the paperwork and processing because the company would actually take care of that. They do that pretty much most of the time, so you have less worries. But the question is, how long can you even stay when you do get a job like that? In terms of residency, that will be determined by the contract of your work. For all my entrepreneurs watching, you're probably like, Deeps, how do I set up my business in one of these countries you're talking about? Well, from what we know right now, that you can actually invest $5,000 just around that Canadian to set up your business in a free zone in Dubai. The other countries that is in the Middle East, it's not the easiest all the time because you need a way larger investment. But right now, there's a lot of transitional for business owners, so definitely check that out. And in the free zone for businesses, there's actually no taxes, and I hope they don't actually change that. PS, their healthcare system and their education system is actually amazing, and guess what? They won't make you wait at the ER forever. But here's the catch. It's not the easiest to get citizenships in this country, unless maybe you want to marry into one of the citizenship families. Your job opportunities for earning, and then using that earning to actually have a good living standard outside of that country will be a little bit tough. So here you're looking at great business opportunities because a lot of the times the initial cost is a lot lower to get in, and especially because the dollar stretches in these countries. The only place where the job is really good is if you're in the oil industry or let's say you're in politics. Here, due to being large business opportunities, it's a great place for people from the diaspora or foreigners to put their funds into. Now you ask, where am I talking about? I'm literally talking about almost every country in the African continent. Why? Well, because post-COVID, there has been a huge rise, especially because of social media, a huge tourism increase in the African continent. People planning multiple visits to either Tanzania, Kenya, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Uganda, Rwanda, Nigeria, Ghana, and so much more. This means short-term rentals in these places are literally like gold mine in the years coming. And one really cool thing you'll notice is that the dollar stretches really well in these countries. So that means as a business owner, you can literally start a lot of businesses with smaller capital than expected in comparison, especially to Canada, which you would have needed in terms of capital. And as a business owner, you're also looking for gaps to fill. So here you'll find, agricultural gap,
real estate gap, and service gap. So you have a lot of places that your services from your business could actually do well. Yes, what I didn't even tell you is most of the African continent and all the countries within it speak English, so it's not as hard of a barrier to communicate. But here's the catch. Like most places, you have to find trusted people and you need to find trusted processes to make sure everything you're doing is legitimate and you don't get scammed. Canadians think they need a staggering $1.7 million in terms of their retirement. And today that couldn't be more true. But the crazy thing is, that's not even enough. You actually need this amount for you to actually retire comfortably. Now more than ever, it's been harder for people to get to that point in Canada. Hence, according to Stats Canada, you'll notice that most of the retirement population is actually in the low income criteria, more than you'd actually even expect. So it's very common in Canada for someone to see their lifestyle totally decrease once they hit the retirement time. And a lot of times this is not by choice, it is just the way it was structured for them and just really honestly how the economy in Canada works at times. But now more than ever, people actually have a choice on where and how they retire as long as they have a global perspective. And that perspective might actually help people to finally think, okay, I can actually retire instead of thinking that it could never ever happen. If you have a back home country, let's say, you want to actually look for retirement there first, because especially if their currency helps you stretch in the living standard that you desire and also the environment you desire. But if you don't have a back home country and Canada is your back home country, then here are a list of countries where you can use to retire with a minimum investment. So for example, in Costa Rica, if you invest in the real estate around 150,000 USD dollars, you can actually be eligible to get a PR. And the list here shows all the other countries where you can do the same, but of course they have different amounts. Because the dollar stretches really, really well, giving you a way better lifestyle, or at least keep you maintaining the same lifestyle that you desired to stay within Canada. But my humble request is if you actually decide to go outside of Canada and it is not a country that is yours, you're back home, is to respect the laws and, pay the taxes and pay the citizens correctly. Oh, and did I tell you that you can continue to receive government benefits while in being different country? So you can still receive your OAS, CPP, and so on. So that's a little secret between me and you. But I suggest you ask your accountant and tax specialist to make sure you can do it too. So you can see there are many how-tos and where-tos. And even in this video itself, I didn't even talk about all the different strategies because there are so many. If you ask me, I'm in the midst of strategy 1 and 2 and transitioning to be able to do those. And I've already planted some seeds for that. So I can be bi-coastal, like I said earlier in the video. I like having freedom of location. So that is what I choose to go towards because it attains to my life goals. But did you notice there's a common denominator between all of these strategies? You need capital for most of them. So if you're wondering that, Adiba, how am I going to get any kind of capital, whether it be a small amount or larger amount? Well, check out this video because I talk about different side hustles with a great profit margin that has shown people making 6 figures and more. And hey, you don't need 6 figures, you just need capital, right? So check out this video to learn more about what you can do with high profit margins with your time.